Welcome to Sunday Media.
We're reporting on the most interesting headlines.
It's the news you need and the entertainment you want every Sunday.
Hit that subscribe button and let's spend Sunday together.
All right, ready?
I'm ready.
Cheers. Welcome to Sunday Media.
Episode 5.
Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday.
I'm Shauna.
And I'm Kylie.
And we have 5 amazing headlines to bring you today. Might be a little more than our average episode, actually, because we've got an amazing call-in today for our Honest Opinion segment, and we've got some really great headlines. So stay tuned. Stick with us. I hope you're enjoying your Sunday. You're doing your reset routine. Maybe you're doing some errands right now. Hopefully you're watching us on YouTube. If you're not, you could be listening. That's fine too. But check us out on YouTube. You can see all of the fun things that we're doing in studio. And if you don't mind, I'd like to start us off because I have a really interesting article that I'd like to bring up. So, we were actually talking about some of this on air, which is why I think it's perfect for our podcast today. And this is life-changing hobbies for people in their 30s.
I love this one.
Okay. And hopefully this is exciting for you too, but you come out of your 20s, male, female, it doesn't really matter. You come out of your 20s and you're spending, I think, a lot of that time with your friends, and you've got this big social life. And as you get a little bit older, maybe your jobs change, maybe your priorities change, maybe you don't want to go out every single night anymore. And so, like we've talked about on previous episodes, your priorities with health, wellness, routines, all of that stuff starts to change. And so, what are we doing basically with that free time? I think that becomes kind of that question, that most important thing. And so this article, I had to address it. Basically, it says when you're wrapping up your 20s, you're starting your 30s, and this applies to people in their 20s too. It kind of depends on where you fall. But it can be a period of reflection. You may still be figuring things out for yourself, but you feel a sense of control that you didn't experience in your early 20s, which I do agree with. I mean, It changes. You think maybe you have the control, but until you start to get closer to 30, do you even realize that you almost didn't have that before?
Right.
And the article, it says it continues to be a period of finding yourself. Part of the reparenting process includes exploring your hobbies and pursuing your passions. But sometimes I think that we get stuck in thinking, what am I doing with my free time? And we almost don't want to feel like it's wasted watching TV or just feeling like you're not being productive one way or another. But I think it's really important that we find good hobbies. And this gave me some really good examples, so I want to share them with everybody. Okay, so before I give you the examples that they share in here, which I think are really good things for our audience, what are your hobbies? What questions do you have?
Your hobbies. Well, the first one, this is going to make me very nerdy, but my hobby, I wouldn't say it's a hobby, but something I learned recently that I feel like it has here: increased brain function and getting a sense of mastery and decreasing stress. I learned the Rubik's Cube. And it is meditative, therapeutic by just going through and solving it. And obviously a sense of mastery when you've done it. And I have to say, it didn't take that long to solve. It's like my fun fact at work now. And so Rubik's Cube is my hobby. Pilates has turned into a hobby. I saw in here journaling. I love that they even have that as a hobby, or creating a to-do list. Do you want to go into the rest of these hobbies, or and then we'll
because I think some of them are things that I've now adapted. But if you need a new hobby or you haven't thought of something that we're about to share, I think these are really important because, especially for women in their 30s, or really either male or this is anybody
at any time.
Being afraid to start something new, or maybe you have an interest that, your partner doesn't have or another friend doesn't have, and you have to go into a new environment, maybe by yourself. You're going to meet other people that are interested in the same things. So you're almost guaranteed to make friends, right? But hobbies, I don't think necessarily need to be social either. These are things that you could do on your own in your free time and feel really good about. What energizes you, right? So some of the examples that they had was, one, explore a new city, which I actually really love, because if you're someone who either, one, travels for work, or two, has a lot of free time, vacation days, trying new places, or even just cities or little parts of your own town that you don't go to, because how many times do we think, oh, I'm not actually a tourist in my own city. I've never been to that thing. And sometimes we don't even do some of the great touristy things where we live until somebody else comes to visit us.
Yes. I saw something actually recently where it was saying, be a tourist in your own town once a month. Like, do something that gets you out of your comfort zone. You learn something new. I love that.
I think we did that a lot as kids, though, because field trips.
True.
And when people would come into town, there was a lot of day trips. But are we really doing that now?
Right.
In new cities?
You have to be intentional.
You have to be intentional. Yeah. So I think that's important. And just finding out, like, if you were to Google what to do in your own town, what would it say? And then just go do them. Spend a couple dollars, or I'm sure there's a lot of free things too. So that's number one, whether it's a new city or your own city, just being a tourist. Number two is a book club. And I'm a big reader.
I was going to say, have you been part of a book club?
Yes, but not an official one. Like, I really have not dove into it. I think only because the genre of books were not really my main interest. So it was a little bit more difficult for me to to focus on those books versus the ones that I wanted to spend my time reading. But I think that if I was to be more intentional about it, because that's the thing, if friends start those types of things, sure, you want to be a part of it because they're your friends, but also if you were to seek out your own, like if I love mysteries or thrillers or self-improvement books or something, if I just seeked out, especially because so many are online now, you don't have to go in person to any of these things. I'm going to connect with other people that like the same things as me. So again, I don't have to worry about somebody else joining with me or just doing the one thing that my other friends are doing, because my interest might be slightly different in that way. Painting or drawing.
Love.
Have you done any of those paint by numbers or anything just relaxing color by number?
I have like a coloring book at work that they like gave us my first job, like de-stress to color.
It is a good de-stressor.
But I love art. I love to be creative, and there's flow in that when you're really just not mindlessly, but drawing or painting.
I think so too.
What about you?
I haven't really done that so much, but I have. Well, I've done the paint by numbers for sure, and I have some I need to finish. I need to go back into them, but I think the difference with that is I wasn't leaving those out and easily accessible to just continually to go back, because maybe I have 10, 15 minutes here or there, or a quiet morning. I could really prioritize that, and just that's a good way to be mindful. Have some, mindful, just intentional moments on your own. No talking, no TV. I also love listening to podcasts.
I know, I saw that as the last one.
The last topic. Yeah. So I think podcasts are a great one. Dance classes, and then working out, hiking, weightlifting, Pilates. You said that. I do that. That's a big priority to me now, because I think we used to have sometimes the perspective of, oh, I have to go work out.
Right.
Now I just have totally shifted my mindset with that. I'm like, I get to work out. Why wouldn't I be grateful for that? Right. I'm taking myself there, but like, what an amazing thing that I get to do. So now I'm so grateful for that. I've picked amazing classes that I enjoy. I have a great workout partner. Shout out Rachel. So yeah, it just makes it way more enjoyable. And that's 100% part of my routine now, but that's a really good internal thing. Is there anything else you thought of that you do?
I just saw yoga on here too, which I got into more recently, like with Pilates. And it just says, a beautiful way to connect with your body, relax, and find peace. And prioritizing that time for me, honestly, also to meditate. That's like a hobby. It really is a wonderful hobby that I feel like I picked up recently, and like to prioritize my time with yoga, meditation, Pilates. Woo-woo, and journaling. But it really changed your mindset in a positive positive way.
Yeah. I mean, we didn't talk as regularly before a couple months ago, really. We kind of reconnected at my wedding, which was amazing. And we had the idea for the podcast. And so we've taken our friendship back to really where it always was growing up. But we had time apart because we lived in different states and we went to college, different places. And so I was so pleasantly surprised when you originally told me how many of those things that you're into, because I'm into it too, but like you're so mindful about it and you seem very regimented.
I try to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and so are you. So it's important to have good friends in your life that are positive influences.
Well, we love talking about this stuff.
I know.
I always want to share those things with you, but I want to know what you're doing too.
Yes,
yeah. Okay. So what do you do with your partner? Hobbies. What do you like to do together?
Cooking, trying new restaurants.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Or like we're beach people.
Yeah.
He's from the beach, from the Jersey Shore. So
does beach for you? It's like the Barbie movie.
I know, a little bit.
my hobby is beach, or my job is beach. But are you just like going out and doing the whole thing? You're laying on the sand, going in the water, or is this walking on the boardwalk? Like, what do you do when what's
everything.
The day?
I mean, because we're different people too. So like I'm like, I love to read, and like he'll bring his friends along, but we will walk the boardwalk, or we could bike, or just walk the beach. Or walk the dog, or go to the dog park. There's a lot of opportunity to just get out there and enjoy the beach while we're there. But he's more into, like, hobby wise, he recently got into boxing.
Oh, really?
He's very into that. As like I'm Pilates, he is boxing. So those are our new hobbies. But once we figured that out, I feel like it changed things in such a positive way too, that we found like the way that we like to exercise. What about you?
Well, Daniel and I walk together.
Yes.
It's a little bit tougher during the week just because it depends on the time of the year, but we used to prioritize walking before work.
I really like that.
Now I do a lot of my workouts really early in the morning. So whenever we have our free days together, whether it's in the evening or weekends, or we can get them during the week, we love to do that walk. We do it's a 5-mile loop.
That's great.
That's good quality time. When we were planning our wedding, I mean, the amount of conversations we've had. We want to eventually host a Thanksgiving dinner. Ooh. Well, not but just take on Thanksgiving dinner in the future. Yeah. The amount of walks that we've taken and planned, all of the menu. We talk about all different types of things. I mean, really, our whole wedding was planned on these walks, basically. Talking everything through, having these conversations, asking each other questions, who do we need to call back today, all the admin stuff related to it. Yeah. It's just really good quality time. So that's definitely a big hobby. Yeah. And in the evenings, we like to find shows or movies that we watch together, because that's really a decompression time. That's like after dinner, before bed, where we don't need to talk, but we're simply just enjoying people's company. And I know that some people have, like health and wellness people have said that that's not really a way for connection, but I almost disagree, because in the evening when we're both watching and we're not on our phones and watching, I do feel connected. Yes. Like we are watching a show, we're in that series or a movie, and we're just like calm. The people that you can sit in the room with and not feel like you have to talk or fill the silence with. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to marry the person I can't do that with, but
yeah, I feel like both of us are pausers in the middle of it, and we like to discuss.
I mean, just as last night, we were. How many times do you think we paused through the episode?
20 times.
We were watching a reality TV, but we have all the comments. We want to talk about it, and that's really also what we do. Whenever, so we're engaging. And we do this with movies. We'll pause. We'll talk, and I'll ask him a bunch of questions because he's so smart. So I love a mystery. We'll get into those types of things, of course. So we try to always find something that we both want to watch. So that, and then the last thing I would say that we probably are really good about is just like you. I mean, we don't live near the beach, so we'll try to take trips, but we love the pool. Okay. We could lay out, whether we're talking, whether we're in the pool together, whether we're just on the chairs and relaxing and I'm on my phone or reading a book, or honestly, I'll bring my laptop and I'll do other things. I'll work on podcast stuff. I'll take a class, I'll watch a podcast on YouTube, and he'll be doing his thing. And we just enjoy that downtime because it's relaxing to us and it's enjoyable. And so I think those are like priorities in our day-to-day in a relationship, and they're just good connection things.
And you're getting your vitamin D in the sun.
Walking and at the pool. Yeah, 100%. And then there's always house stuff you're doing, but that's, to me, that's not a hobby. I mean, you could call gardening that, but I'm not actively gardening. I'm taking care of the plants, but I'm not, that's not my hobby as much. I think we can appreciate it later in life. I'm personally not there yet.
Yes, me too.
But we always want to be helpful.
Right.
There you go.
That's good.
Yay. Do you have an article you want to share next?
I do.
Okay.
So this one's interesting. I think very relatable. It came out this month, so it's definitely current. It's how return to office policies are impacting employees in 2024.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So very important. It says, a recent survey from Resume Builder found that 8 in 10 employers lost talent to return to office mandates. Hugely debated topic in the post-COVID business world, as companies and workers strive to find common ground with a preferred working arrangement. So work-life balance has obviously shifted. I know we talked about this on the podcast already, but it also talks about a hidden agenda behind RTO, return to office mandates. So as the world slowly emerged from COVID pandemic, many organizations started putting in return to office policies, coming back 3 days a week, 5 days a week, no matter what it is. However, it says like UPS, Boeing, JP Morgan Chase have made headlines with these mandates. So the push for return to office has many drivers, dimensions. These include the desire to boost collaboration, which I completely agree with. I felt that. Maintain company culture, and increase productivity. However, return to office policies have not been without controversy. These often lead to friction between employers and employees, largely because employees have grown to use the benefits of remote work. So one of the most striking assertions from recent studies is the use of these mandates. Apparently, they've admitted that they were hoping for voluntary turnover after implementing a return to office policy. It says the strategy was not explicitly communicated internally or externally. Who knows if it's true?
Yeah.
But industry observers say it could be viewed as back channel layoffs, which I think is pretty interesting through the COVID pandemic.
Yeah.
May have caused this.
Sorry to interrupt, but are we saying that it's kind of a bigger issue with these companies misleading what the day-to-day was going to be after, because it's been now a couple years since we've really come back from the work from home and now bringing people back into the office? Or what part is kind of the issue now?
I think it just has given companies the opportunity that they didn't have before to reevaluate how they're spending their money.
Yeah.
And maybe they didn't. I know companies might not communicate everything so transparently to the employees. But hopefully the decisions were made for good reason. It'd be nice if companies were more transparent about, say, layoffs or those things that could be happening. But I do think COVID, I'll be optimistic, changed things for the better in a lot of ways in making work-life balance more acceptable.
Yeah. That's just really interesting that that's kind of the conversation that we're having in 2024, being removed from COVID.
Right.
But if you're somebody that works in an office or works for a company that maybe you are working from home, but that's still going to affect you potentially.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think kind of hopefully what our call-in from our honest opinions. Oh, no. From our honest opinions segment last episode, that almost kind of applies.
Yeah. Very relatable.
Yeah. What our call-in, our guest, John, was saying, just kind of reevaluating if there's maybe a different path you want to take in your career. If that's kind of the way the company is going, maybe this is a good opportunity for you to pivot or do something that interests you that might be outside of your current education or work experience. So I think there could be a lot of positives to it, but it is good that we're talking about it because you're right. It's affecting a lot of people and a lot of companies, and you can just, you can think ahead on these types of things, and hopefully you're using your time more wisely, work included.
And I feel like a lot of friends that I know after COVID have switched to remote work. They only want to be remote from now on. And I see that. I still would prefer to be hybrid because I like that camaraderie and collaboration, but love the flexibility of a hybrid schedule.
Yeah, I think that's wonderful. Well, I apologize, but we do have to interrupt this because I have breaking news. Breaking news. It just came in. Do you mind if I share? I really want to share this, actually. We have breaking news, and we do have to interrupt this message just to let our audience know that Friday Scaries are now a thing, not just Sunday Scaries. Have you ever heard of this?
No Sunday Scaries, because it's a good Sunday reset. We love Sundays.
We love Sundays over here at Sunday Media. So hopefully you're relaxing and enjoying your Sunday, but Friday Scaries are a thing. Breaking news.
Tell me more.
Yes. So are you someone who gets Friday Scaries? Let me explain. Well, first of all, do you even know what Sunday Scaries are? Have you ever felt Sunday Scaries?
I have felt Sunday Scaries.
Yeah, me too. But Sunday Scaries are more related to usually how you feel about work. Right. So if your work week starts on Monday, like most people's, you feel it on Sunday because it's just like you're getting back into that routine after being off for most people those 2 days if you're off on the weekend. Friday Scaries, according to this headline, Friday Scaries leave me with a sense of harrowing anxiety that plops itself on top of me like a thick weighted blanket. Unlike Sunday Scaries, which begin in the afternoon and grow more intense throughout the evening, my Friday Scaries start around 7 or 8 p.m. I'll just have kicked off my shoes after a long work week. I might be pouring myself a glass of wine or browsing through Netflix. And one of two things happen. This is what she says. It's either one, my phone dings like a modern day jester announcing a slew of invitations from my friends. Brunch tomorrow. I have an extra ticket for a show. What are you doing on Sunday? And suddenly I am tasked with contemplating all of the things that I want to go do and how I want to spend my time over the weekend. Or alternatively, the phone doesn't ring. You don't get any invitations. You don't hear anything. And suddenly the day continues or your Friday evening continues and nothing's happened and no one's inviting you somewhere. No one's reaching out. And honestly, I don't know which one is worse.
Ideal.
Personally, I do love that. I mean, how many times have you put your phone on Do Not Disturb and you're like, don't call me, don't text me, my phone is
every day.
Every day. We are people who live with Do Not Disturb on. I know. However, I totally empathize with this. I mean, I think the older I get, the more I appreciate having the quieter phone.
Yes.
And a calm evening.
Yes.
That being said, it's good to enjoy your weekends too. That is time that I want to be spending doing things that I can't always do during the week and seeing my friends and being social, or just feeling like you did something fun for the weekend. So this is actually, I mean, nails it on the head. So I'm going to share, and then I actually want your opinion on this. So she said I can't say whether it was my obsession with young adult fiction or watching too many unrealistic rom-coms about writers living in New York. But basically this writer lived in New York and she had this concept of what an ideal weekend was for herself though. Okay. Whenever she's drinking wine or just trying to relax for the evening, she's like, if I don't live up to this ideal, I'm somehow feeling like I'm missing out, especially when she was in her 20s. But as she's, as she gets a little bit older and you start working towards your 30s and kind of what we were saying, the Friday Scaries tend to feel so poignant because they seem to hint at a greater issue that our bodily anxiety is trying to illuminate. She says, often Sunday Scaries are a result of some form of job discomfort or insecurity about career performance. But Friday Scaries, on the other hand, point towards something a bit more inward facing. Right. Oh my gosh, we're getting so deep. When I get the Sunday Scaries, I find myself pondering questions that are nearly impossible to resolve in the single span of a night. Questions like, Who do I feel most connected to in my life? What's important to me? How do I want to spend my time? Am I wasting my time? So
for the Friday Scaries.
Yeah, because it's about going into the weekend and thinking, how do I want to spend my time? Is that with friends? Is that on hobbies like we were talking about? It really is prioritizing the free time that you do have. So, I mean, what's an ideal weekend for you?
I mean, I'm going back even to what this article says. It just sounds like expectations are being set that
well, TV, like she's saying, lives in New York.
Right.
What she sees on TV and how other people on TV or movies are spending their time. And it gives you this sense where you feel like you should be doing more or you should be more social than you are. But then when you're not doing that or you don't feel like you want to do that, you almost feel like you're missing out.
Yes.
Or it's deciding how you feel comfortable spending your time. So really just prioritizing it. But I just love how she says like it almost exposes a different internal thought process.
Yes.
For like, why do I feel this way and how am I actually feeling and how do I want to spend my time?
It sounds like a moment of self-reflection.
Yeah.
Necessary.
Okay. So ideal weekend for you. Like if you're not traveling or maybe travel is part of it, but like what do you love to do on a weekend?
I feel like I normally would be traveling the past 4 or 5
You've been on so many trips.
Has been traveling. So now I would say I'd be prioritizing myself, self-care, doing Pilates. My boyfriend and I go out and do something special together and spend time together, enjoying the summer.
Yeah.
While it's here. How about you?
I have gotten more into a really solid morning routine.
Nice.
I would say probably just in 2024, like over the last year, I have started making myself a morning person. Ooh. I never really was, but well, the way that I do it really is setting a good night routine. Like I'm pretty specific on what time I go to bed, whether that's me falling asleep on the couch and just like letting myself not keep my eyes peeled to watch whatever I'm watching before bed or something, or intentionally going up to bed. But I really try to go to bed at a consistent time every night. And then I get up early and I do my workouts in the morning. Yep. And then sometimes I have extra time before I do my work day. So I spend that on, personal admin, podcasting stuff. I'll read in the morning, or it's just like house resetting. If I feel like I need to organize stuff or I need to reset the kitchen, if I want to, prepare for the day, if I'm bringing lunch, whatever it is, that's kind of my time to reset. So I've been really good on the weekends then too, about just using the morning time to do what I want to do, to get those things out of the way and feel really good for the day, to just spend it freely. So I do like meeting up with friends. And then also just like me and my husband will go in the summer, we go to the pool. Yeah. And we could literally spend all evening there and come home and make a great dinner and be like so happy. Yes. So it just depends on what's going on. I think for me, I do love travel and hosting people, but I also am someone who needs to prepare ahead of time to feel relaxed when I'm doing that.
So you're a good host and you like to host.
I like to host, but I also like to feel like everything is done and I had enough time to be relaxed and enjoy my guests and feel like they have everything they need and I have everything I need, because otherwise it feels stressful to me, but that's just me. So weekends, a time to totally detach from work and get everything that I want to get done and then relax in the afternoon. But she had a couple really good things. So I do want to hint on this before we move on. She was talking about how she brought the idea of the Friday Scaries to her therapist because it was just really impacting her. And she talks about it more in the article, and you can check this out. I mean, we're going to link everything in the show notes as you've seen. But I think it's important. She talked about it with her therapist, just the way that it was making her feel. And basically one of two things was happening every weekend. And so she gave a couple tips. So I think these are really important. And I'm actually going to apply these. So one, she says, take control of your physical space. The first tactic we came up with together, her and her therapist, was to take control of her physical space, because more than not, when she gets the Scaries, her apartment is in a disheveled state. And it feels dark and desolate, much like her mood. And so she kind of clears everything and resets. And that just gives you like a clear sense of, peace of mind. And then you don't feel like this weight on you. You can think clearly and you can decide how you feel, and it doesn't like bog you down.
Yes.
Going sober, because the way that she talks about this here is that on Friday evenings, she loved to unwind with a glass of wine. And I think a lot of our hobbies, not our hobbies, but I think a lot of things that you go and do in the city do revolve around drinking. And if you don't want that, because the alcohol can raise cortisol levels and it can kind of fuel the anxiety that you might already be feeling anyway. And so she said another less exciting but helpful tactic that she has done is opt out of having that glass of wine to not really enhance that feeling. And she just said it feels really nice to wind down with a glass of wine, but she feels like her scaries are a lot less intense when she skips that alcohol. And instead, she's been thinking of ways to treat herself in other ways. So I feel like this is where the self-care comes in. Are you just doing like a face mask? Are you taking a bath? Are you unwinding and cleaning the apartment so you feel really good? Maybe you go do a workout before you go out. Maybe you're just treating yourself to a really good dinner. Maybe you like to cook or bake. I think that there are definitely other things that we don't prioritize or think about as self-care.
Right.
But we really should. Creating a weekend blueprint was number 3. And that's just kind of identifying what she wants to do. And I think that's important. One day of social and one day of reset. And on Sunday media, we are big fans of the Sunday reset, obviously. That is the time. I mean, you're probably doing this right now, obviously, but you're changing your sheets, you're washing your clothes, you're getting everything prepared for the next day, you're relaxing. Maybe you're watching your favorite show in the background, i.e. you're watching us on YouTube right now. But yeah, I mean, this is a reset day. So maybe you reserve Saturday for social aspects. You meet up with friends or you go out and about, you explore a city, you do all of those things. And then Sunday, you're a little bit closer to home and you can feel calm and collected before the week ahead, because we don't want Friday scaries and Sunday scaries.
We don't want any scaries.
No. And then the last thing was to just make your own ideal weekend. Like, you might fall one way or the other, but don't really let other people dictate what an ideal weekend is for you. Like, if you want to just do a whole self-care weekend, why do we feel FOMO? Like, don't feel like you're missing out. Just be confident that you're going to stay in and you're going to prioritize other things. And I think over the last couple of years, I've also learned this, and I just love this tip. So for anybody listening, if you're saying no to something, you don't have to give a whole reason why. You don't have to give an explanation. You can, I mean, I think you should let people know like that you're not coming. Don't lead them on. But yeah, if you asked me to do something and I really just wanted to have a night in, or I needed to prioritize something else, I would just say, oh, I'm sorry, I'm not able to make it. And then feel good about that, because obviously I let you know you're not expecting me now, but I don't need to say, oh, because of this or because of that, or rationalize it or over explain. Now, if it's something fun, I might be like, Kylie girl, I cannot come because I am doing this. But also you don't, I mean, sometimes people ask us that we're not as close to too, and you don't need to give a whole explanation as to why you can't do something. And that's kind of a people pleasing thing. I mean, we could talk about this for hours, but yeah. So I just thought those were amazing.
I love that.
Yeah. So that's how I'm going to continue to spend my weekends. I already feel like I'm prioritizing this well, but I agree. Like, you have one or the other, and I like balancing. This is my social day. This is what we're going to be kind of doing. And then Sunday, I might be even ending my day a little bit earlier, actually. That way I have time to come back and shower for the evening and feel like I can reset my stuff and do anything that I need to do to prepare, and just feel like I'm going to have a really good morning.
Do you feel FOMO ever? Or like, have you in the past, but now you don't? Because that's changed for me as I've gotten older, I think.
I think so too. I definitely used to feel it.
Same.
Nobody wants to feel like their whole group of friends is out and they weren't invited. But if you got the invite and you said no, are you going to feel the FOMO?
Right. I would hope not.
I think it's about, like, I want to be invited, but I don't want to go. But thank you so much, but I want to be invited. So please invite me, but I'm not coming. So sorry.
Yes, but you don't want to feel bad for saying no. Don't feel bad is what I keep thinking in my head when I'm thinking about
But also don't say no to everything just to say no. You should definitely be social and prioritize your friends.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a more the merrier type of girl.
Mm-hmm.
So like if I'm doing something, are we inviting other people? Let's tell everybody what we're doing. And I think that's a good chance because I'm not as social 7 nights a week.
Yes.
Whereas, sure, in my 20s, there was always something going on and something that we were doing. And I was just a lot more flexible, I'm sure, than I am now.
And I had more energy.
Way more energy.
Young energy.
I know. We are so young, but we are not 20 years old anymore.
But the city life is interesting because I could totally see how expectations are.
Yeah, especially in your 20s.
And it's fun. There's so many places to go.
We're also not dating at the moment, but we know a lot of people who are, and we've obviously been through that. So I think that makes a difference too. You want to be out in social because you want to meet new people. But you don't have to do that 7 nights a week. And you can also prioritize the types of places that you want to spend your time in because hopefully what types of things that you like to do, an ideal partner is going to enjoy too. You don't have to have the exact same hobbies, but the type of place that you go should ideally match with the type of person that you want to spend time with.
Yes.
So if you just have 1 or 2 nights a week where you're doing something fun or you join a group or maybe you're going out and you're going to a bar or something like that. But you don't have to do it 7 nights a week to accomplish what you want to accomplish. So I don't think we should feel bad.
Yeah. Be easy on yourself. People.
Yeah. Well, very good. So we have a honest opinion.
Ooh.
Somebody wrote in. I think it's a really juicy one. It's about bachelor parties.
Okay.
And I mean, have you been to bachelorette parties?
I thought you were going to say bachelor.
Have you been to any bachelor parties?
But I've been to many bachelor parties. Yeah. A blast. Yeah.
And have you been to any crazy ones? Do you feel like they've been crazy?
I don't think so.
Anything that you would be afraid to share with your partner? Maybe not afraid, but just like slightly hesitant.
Concerned if I was worried to share I would want to share everything.
Sure, but maybe you're not the one doing it and like you're seeing other people on the trip do things.
Still, I have to say it. I have to say everything.
Yeah, of course we need to share. But have you ever been on a trip where you're slightly hesitant and you're like, oh man, like I almost don't want to say what has been going on because it's just a little bit wild? Or do you feel like they've been pretty good, pretty calm?
I feel like as I get older, they've gotten calmer, tamer. Less people are having them, in my opinion. Like,
oh, really?
Good friends of mine that have recently gotten married, and it's changed my perspective too on even having one. And I think the other thing is my brother's girlfriend is European, and she looks at bachelorette parties and thinks, what are you doing? Like,
really? What do they do?
Nothing.
They don't do anything?
No.
I mean, this, and we're probably going to talk about it more later, but I mean, this was not as big of a thing until the last, I don't know, how many years? 5 years? 10 years? They were not that big. People were not doing bachelor and bachelorette parties for full weekends, and they were not traveling as far as people do now.
So again, expectation.
But I think that this is a valid concern. Definitely. So let's go ahead and get into it. He's going to be calling us in just a few minutes.
Let's go.
Ben is calling in from Charlotte, North Carolina. Thanks so much for joining us. How are you feeling today?
Feeling great. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thanks so much for joining us. We had somebody write in. They've got quite an interesting question, dilemma, maybe. I think you might be the perfect person to answer this. We kind of gave you a little bit of insight as to their question, their dilemma yesterday. So hopefully you've had a little bit of time to think about, the advice that you would share with them. And we're hoping that everybody that has written in is going to, maybe in a couple months, maybe in a couple years, call back in. Let us know how it's going. Let us know how the advice has helped them. So let me go ahead and share with the audience what they wrote in. It says, "Dear Honest Opinions, I am currently engaged to a wonderful man, and we are in the midst of planning our wedding. Everything has been going smoothly, but there is one issue that has been causing me some concern: the bachelor party. My fiance wants to have a traditional bachelor party with his friends, which includes a weekend away. I trust him completely, but I can't help but feel uneasy about the whole idea. I've heard stories about things getting out of hand at these parties, and it makes me nervous. Am I overreacting? Should I let him have his bachelor party without worrying, or is it reasonable to have some reservations? How can I address my concerns without coming across as controlling or distrustful? Sincerely, anxious bride-to-be. Yeah, really good one. So we'll turn it over to you first. Ben, what would you say in response to this?
I think it's a valid concern for sure. Right? Bachelor parties and even bachelorette parties are a tremendous amount of fun and at times can get a little bit crazy. I think just real high level, a good policy regarding bachelor parties probably comes from a policy that's in the military or was in the military for a period of time, which was don't ask, don't tell.
Oh. I thought it was going to be something different.
I think first things first, right? So based on the context that she provided, it sounds like she doesn't really trust him completely. Mm-hmm. And I think that's something that she probably needs to reconcile totally separately. But listen, marriage is a beautiful thing. Bachelor and bachelorette parties are for sure part of that process. And hopefully, it's the beginning of a long marriage. And at the end of the day, all successful marriages are based on trust, respect, and communication, right? So if she doesn't trust him enough to make good decisions that wouldn't jeopardize the relationship, I don't know that marriage could last. And, it's probably more likely that it would end up as a divorce statistic. And I think that applies both for applies for both partners effectively, right? The choice as to whether or not to have a bachelor party isn't really her decision to make. I think if one of my friends told me that his fiance wouldn't let him have a bachelor party, I would probably advise that he runs away and doesn't look back. In my experience, these parties are a unique opportunity for some of his closest friends to reunite at a point in his life where he's effectively put you first, above everybody else, including his friends and family. And these are people that he might have significantly longer relationships with, right? He's been through more ups and downs with them, good times and bad, more life experiences. And I think the fact that he puts you first or has chosen to put you first in and of itself is quite special. So I think that should be recognized. That being said, a typical bachelor party is organized by the group, and it's to celebrate him and this major life event. And I think a fiancé should be really supportive of that. As his teammate, it should make you feel good that he has these established relationships with his friends and his family. And these are people that are going to be traveling long distances. And I've been to a considerable amount of parties, and there's really no cheap way to have a great bachelor party. So they're spending considerable amounts of money to celebrate him. And I think the key takeaway here is that his bachelor party is really about celebrating him. It's not about you. So, to address your concerns about what might happen more directly, there's really no guarantee as to what will happen. And there's for sure certainly some risk there, right? I've seen some of the most loyal guys be complete dogs at these bachelor parties. And I've also seen the complete opposite. But I think it's important to know that if he wanted to cheat on you, right, or behave in a way that would have that would ultimately terminate the relationship, I don't know that he needs a bachelor party to do that, or even justify those types of actions. So I think I have some advice for the caller, right? Ultimately, these are some of the best things that you can do. Number one, support his decision to have a party or not. It's up to him. It's not up to up to you. 2, offer to do something nice to make the event even more special for him and his friends, right? Show that you care and that you want it to be a great event. So maybe you could send them a nice bottle of scotch, or you could pick up the tab for a group meal or one of the group events. Number 3, which is arguably the most important point, you need to communicate boundaries if you feel that you need to or that you haven't in the past. And normally, if you're engaged to be married, these are probably things that you should have already discussed with your partner previously. So that being said, you also need to understand that some form of adult entertainment at a bachelor party is 100% normal, and it happens at pretty much every bachelor party. So I think if you're going to set boundaries, you need to be realistic about those boundaries and not set unreasonable boundaries. So he doesn't feel like he has to lie about it or potentially break that trust. And number 4, I think you need to trust that he'll continue making decisions that are in the best interest of your relationship, right? I mean, if you don't trust that he could have a bachelor party and not do anything that would jeopardize the relationship, then I think there's like a bigger underlying issue here. So that would be my advice, but for sure support him, communicate with him, and you know, at the end of the day, I'm sure it'll be a great party, and don't ask, don't tell.
That's really great. Wow. And there were so many things in there. Kylie,
Yeah.
I want to hear your response first before I say anything.
Well, immediately what you were saying is just, I got to take it out. The trust. The question that the listener, the audience is writing in, it just feels like there's a lack of trust and communication clearly. So that needs to be buttoned up for a bachelor party, of course. But yeah, I think communication, trust is absolutely necessary, and it sounds like it's lacking a bit.
No, I agree. It's definitely the root of the relationship, but it's interesting because the person who wrote in actually said, how can I address my concerns without coming across as controlling or distrustful? But yeah, we're all kind of seeing that just asking that question anyway is showing that there might be some distrust. Even if you don't want to feel that way, she's obviously feeling some sort of unease. But that could also just be from these stories that we've heard from other people,
right,
or other men going on bachelor trips. So, I mean, rightfully so. I think there's always probably something in the back of your head where you're just hoping that everything that you've talked about in your relationship up until then, everything that you talk about before everybody goes on their trips, whether you're going on a bachelorette party too or not, is consistent with how they're going to act when they're on that trip. And that, yeah, you can trust that person. But for them not to have that experience with their friends and just be able to let loose a little bit without, betraying the relationship. But if you think that they get this one chance and opportunity to be distrustful or to do something that is so wildly outrageous, whether it's to you or, you know, somebody else, I think that's really tough.
Well, I think that's the misconception, right? It's like, I normally would trust him, but if he's going to go hang out with his friends for a weekend and party, then he's going to get into a lot of trouble. And if he was going to do that, I don't know that he needs the bachelor party to do that, right? I'm sure at the end of the day, you know, with a marriage, the man and woman or the partners, they don't spend all of their time together every single day, 100% of the day, right? So you can't really keep tabs on the other person. You're together in the morning, obviously you both go to work or you work from home, you reunite at night, you have dinner, you go to bed together, and then there's like a good percentage of your life where you're independent. And whether they're at a bachelor party or whether they're in the office or whether they're out at happy hour with friends, you know, there's plenty of opportunities for him, you know, to make bad decisions. That's just the reality. So I think if you're in a relationship where you're, you know, about to get married, you hopefully would have already had these conversations and be in a position where you trust him at his bachelor party and you trust him at other, you know, his other friends' bachelor parties, because they all typically happen around the same time, anywhere between 25 and 35. A guy with a close group of friends might have, between 10 and 15 bachelor parties. And it's an opportunity for sure. And there is risk just because everybody's having a good time. You're celebrating that person. But I think just being, very transparent, having a high level of communication and what the expectations are. And if you feel like you need to set boundaries, making those boundaries clear, but making sure that those boundaries are reasonable, I think will, be a good strategy for approaching it in a way where it doesn't make you look controlling, i.e., you letting him have a bachelor party or you letting him go to a bachelor party. If my wife told me that she wouldn't let me go to a bachelor party, that would be a serious issue for me, right? Like, we're all adults, we're all grown-ups and make decisions, and hopefully the decisions that your partner makes are in the best interests, not only for himself, but for the relationship. And if you stick to that plan, then you really, I think, kind of cover all your bases, right? And if he does do something, if you have those conversations and he does something and it gets back because somebody talked about it and they open their mouth, then obviously that's a separate issue, and you guys need to figure out the best path forward. But for sure, there's some risk, but there's no guarantee that he'll behave any type of way at these parties. And, he's not a child, he's an adult. So you got to kind of trust that the decisions that he makes will be the right decisions. It's the best thing that she can do.
That's great. And so you said you are married, right?
I am married. I've been married for a year.
Congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations.
My bachelor party was in Miami and it was crazy.
I was going to ask, did you guys have to have this conversation, or obvious
we
trust
did have a conversation. Absolutely. Yeah. We had a conversation before my bachelor party. And, I think in the scale of craziness, it wasn't the craziest party I've ever been to. I've probably been to close to 15 parties at this point. But it was crazy enough where everybody had a great time. Nobody got arrested. Nobody ended up in the hospital. And we all returned safely to our partners. So that's a win.
That is a win.
That's a win. And so for our writer-inner, she mentioned questioning how she should address this with her partner. And I think you hinted on this already, but would our advice to her collectively be to actually have that conversation with him about how she's feeling? Or should she kind of go with what you were saying before, where, she just decides to trust him? And if he says, I want to have a bachelor party, she entertains the conversation and they decide to have that conversation about any boundaries that they have and just talk about what they think they're going to do and kind of the overall plan for the weekend. Like, what would we say that she should do in terms of broaching the subject to her fiancé?
Yeah, I think for sure they should have a conversation. I mean, they probably have conversations about everything, right? They're teammates. So you just approach the conversation in a way where it doesn't seem like she's already made up her mind as to what he's going to do. She approaches it in a way where she's supportive of him having a party. She's happy that he's having a party. She wants to contribute to some aspect of the party. And then she communicates that, there are certain boundaries that she has in her mind, and then have that discussion with her partner.
I agree.
For sure.
Thank goodness.
Otherwise it's like, well, this and this happened at the party, but we never talked about it. And you can't hold me responsible for those types of decisions, which is a whole separate issue. But if they communicate up front about, things that are okay and things that are not okay, then I think they're both really clear about what the expectation is when he consumes large amounts of alcohol and takes his clothes off.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm not sure if everybody is doing that, but
yeah, clothing optional.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for that advice. I think that gives, I think it gives her a lot to think about. And I agree with that, approaching the conversation in a way that's calm and collected. Right. Think about what you want to say, be supportive of his decision either way, and make sure you talk about your boundaries and give him an opportunity to say his back with what he's thinking he's going to do with his guys on the bachelor party. And if he has any boundaries for you, if you're going to have your own bachelorette. Right. Yeah. Well, thank you, Ben, so much. Hopefully our writer inner will let us know how this goes. Let us know if it's maybe in the next couple months. I'm sure the trip is coming up soon. So let us know if this advice helped you, what you ended up doing, how that conversation went. And we look forward to talking to you again. And Ben, hopefully you can be a guest on another episode in the future. You were amazing. And we will talk to you soon.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you for the show.
Thanks, Ben.
So check us out. Let us know, what are your questions? What are your dilemmas? And let us answer them for you. Let us bring on the perfect guest to answer your question, your concern, your dilemma. Wonderful. Well, that was 5. That was 5
crazy
dilemmas already. Yes. So I'm having fun with them. Me too. It's time for our mini mic moment. Let's go. Today's mini mic moment is 5 questions to get to know Kylie. Ooh. This is brought to you by 17 Magazine. We're getting very nostalgic here. 5 questions to get to know your best friend, i.e., let's get to know Kylie today. Okay, question number 1. If you could trade places with someone for the day, who would you choose and why? Who would it be?
This is a new inspiration for me.
Okay.
A woman. She's Australian. Her name's Jackie Kingwell. She's the owner of the Pilates class.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah.
And she loves, she teaches Pilates every day, and she lives in Australia. She's friends with the people from Monday Swimwear. It's just a good, exciting group of people.
If you won the lottery, what's the first thing that you would do? The very first thing you would do?
I would go visit my brother and his girlfriend in Paris.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah. Shout out John. From last episode. Go listen to it if you haven't already. Okay, next question. What luxury item would you spend your money on right now? If somebody just gave you a bunch of money right now, what would you go spend it on, luxury-wise?
I don't know if it's technically luxury, but furniture. I think it would.
No, it is.
Furniture is very expensive. And we're moving into a new place, so I need nice furniture. We need nice furniture. And yeah, that's luck.
That's good. Would you rather see 5 years into the future or 20 years into the future?
5.
Why?
20 is too much.
Okay, that's fair. I think I would choose that too. Mm-hmm. What song would make up the soundtrack to your life?
New album came out recently from Glass Animals. Do you know Glass Animals?
No.
Oh, I'll listen to it later.
Okay.
But my favorite band are from the UK. They just came out with their album very recently, so we'll give it a listen.
Okay.
It's just good vibes.
Good vibes. Yeah. Love it. Well, thanks so much for being here, for being my guest on Mini Mic Moment, and hopefully our guests have learned a little something about you. And thanks to 17 Magazine for giving us these amazing questions. They might be from the 90s, who knows, but I think they still apply.
Yes.
So. Okay. Well, thanks so much to everybody who's listening and watching out there. Hopefully you're watching, but if you're listening, we appreciate that too.
Yes, thank you for joining us on this Sunday.
Yeah, it's been amazing. Thank you to our guest again for coming on. I think we had some really amazing headlines today, actually. I've just enjoyed this time in the studio with you.
These were good ones. Me
too.
Too.
Hopefully all of our listeners out there are enjoying their Sunday so far and continue to enjoy the Sunday. No Sunday scaries for anybody over here.
You're resetting. You're finding your hobby.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All good things.
All good things. So again, thank you for listening. You can follow the show on Instagram at the Sunday Media. Check us out. Rate, review, subscribe. Check us out next week. We have just a couple more episodes this season. It's been so fun.
It has been.
Hopefully we'll have another season come out very quickly. We're not releasing any dates just yet. We haven't officially confirmed. But yeah.
Yes. If you like it, send it to your friends.
Oh, please send it to your friends. Thanks so much. Talk to you later.
Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday.